who everyone. I can go into anywhere and like everyone I'm friends with and all that. And once I got into politics, man, it's like half the people, no matter what you do, say, whatever, gonna hate you because you align with the party or whatever. And half the people gonna always not know, gonna have nothing to say about you. And everyone that was like, it was interesting, man. When I was the underdog, and when I was really like running for office, and everyone thought it was cute because I was running for office at 21, all this and that. Like, you know, there's an opportunity. Like, when I was the underdog, everyone was like really cheering me on, like, yeah, Josh, like go after it and all that. But then once I actually got it, and then not only that I got it, and I started doing more, and I started doing more, I started excelling all that. Once I slowly started becoming from the underdog to like that dude that's consistently like succeeding. Man, I saw some of the people that were like my biggest supporters start turning to some of the biggest critics.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning to the UpNUp Podcast on the UpNUp Network. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
What's going on, brother?
Man, chilling, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Blessed. Feeling good, feeling great.
Yes, sir.
Weather's changing.
Yeah, man.
So the mood is changing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, grateful, man. Gratitude. Shout out to the team in the room as well. Always grateful for them.
Yes, sir.
And then for those of you first time listening, tuning in, thank you for tuning in. As I stated, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture. We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ad-libbing for me. Okay.
Yeah, come on, man.
Man, the people who are taking up space in various industries, breaking barriers, and really just putting it down for the next generation, right? Not just all of us here.
Yeah.
For those of you consistent listeners, part of the family, as we like to say, shout out to you guys. As always, we encourage you guys to continue sticking with us. And for those first-time listeners, welcome to the family.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited.
Me too, man.
Yeah, man, because today's guest, man, is someone I actually had the pleasure of meeting. I think it was about 2 years ago. Now that I think about it, time flies, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain people you're gonna always circle back and run into and have powerful conversations with, right? And I think the time is right. The time is now. And today's guest is someone who's truly leading in every sense of the word, right? But he's doing it in his own unique and fresh approach, right?
Yeah.
He's definitely a true culture cultivator, he's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up. Today we're joined by the young force and leader serving as councilman for the city of Lynnwood. Being elected in 2022 at only the age of 21, he was the youngest African-American to be elected in Washington state history, as well as the youngest in the nation. One of the youngest in the nation, right? And currently he's running a race for Washington State Congress, District 2. And in that race, he's aiming to become the youngest in history to ever be elected to that position, right?
Yeah.
This young brother's a force, as I said, who's trying to make a change, who's trying to make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to do it, and he's not waiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the best part of all is he's just getting started.
Yeah.
Right? I'm super honored to have him in the building. And without further ado, let's just get straight to him. And our guest is none other than the good brother himself, Josh Binda. Can we get a round of applause?
Yeah.
Give it up.
Hey man, I just want to say I'm very grateful to both of you guys for allowing me to come on here and talk to y'all. Like you said, ran to you a couple of years ago, and you just, like you said, you just know some people, like you always gonna find a way to get back into contact. So I'm very privileged that this is a setting and this is the time.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect timing for me to come on here and have a conversation with y'all. And I'm just as honored and privileged. Been seeing y'all doing y'all thing for a couple of years now, watching y'all grow. And I think this is what it's all about. When we talk about the up and up, it's about people like us that are trying to, come up and make a way and do what we got to do and make waves. So y'all doing that. I want to make sure y'all get y'all flowers too.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, man.
While we're here,
Appreciate
man.
you, man.
People know y'all doing it for yourselves.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's round of applause for that. Yeah, okay.
I'm privileged. I'm honored to be here as well, and I'm looking forward to this conversation, keeping it, as authentic as always. You know what I mean?
Sure, man.
Yeah.
It's an honor, man.
Yeah, thank you for being here, man. And like I said, we're all contributing, right? And I think we all have our different mediums and ways in which we're doing it, right? But yeah, man, thank you for being here. Now, starting every episode, we always start every episode with the quote of the day. Something just get the vibe right, get the convo started. Brother man, man of the quotes. What you got for us, man?
All right, man. The quote of the day today is life is a gift and it offers it. Let me start it over. My bad. Life is a gift and it offers us the privilege, opportunity, and responsibility to give something back by becoming more.
Who's
That's
that quote
powerful.
by? Who's that quote?
Tony Robbins.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great Tony Robbins
Man.
quotes out there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. What do you feel about that quote?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're talking to someone now. I'm also, even though I'm in politics, I'm running my own public speaking business. I don't know if y'all seen that as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mhm.
I look up to people like, Eric Thomas and Tony Robbins.
Mm.
And a lot of my motivation, things I've heard from them, it always hits me deep as well. So I think it's a powerful quote. I think it's a reflection of where a lot of people are in life, including myself, and seeing it in a certain perspective, And I just think that, it's going to be a tone setter for our conversation right now, just in general. And so I'm just really looking forward to getting to this and having a real conversation. As y'all both know,
Yeah.
the last couple of years, I've been in media, I've been all over the place and this and that. And, I think a lot of times media can misconstrue stories and all of that when there's agendas and all that. So for me, it's always nice when I get in a room full of, authentic brothers to have a real conversation, keep it a buck, and really tell stories the way they're supposed to be told. And so this is, like y'all mentioned earlier, now I'm getting ready to run for Congress.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, man, like this is not something I saw on my path in my journey. We're going to get into this conversation. But life has a way of taking you where you're destined to be, And sometimes it's not what we see for ourselves. But, I'm a believer in God. So I believe, when God has a plan for you, that's the destiny that you're meant to go, whether you believe in it or for yourself or not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
And so when we talk about that quote and Tony Robbins, man, yeah, I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan and a lot of motivational speakers. Someone that speaks in the motivational realm now myself.
Yeah.
So it's really dope. It's really dope, man.
Nice.
Amazing quote.
Thank you.
Amazing quote choice.
Yeah.
Now, Josh, before we kind of dive into the show, and obviously we're going to get into the journey, I love to always start every episode just kind of checking seasons, man. Like when it comes to what season you're currently in, we're all going through different seasons. It might be summer, but it may not be summer for someone else, right? For yourself, how would you describe the current season you're in right now?
Man, I think the current season I am is what I would categorize as working in the dark to shine the light. You know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned earlier, people, I think a lot of people when they see social media, see people always out in the media and stuff like that, they always see like the end results, the glory, the lights, the cameras. But usually for me, every single winning season I've ever had, I've had a building season in the dark where nobody was around, where I'm putting the work where nobody sees, and I'm just doing what I got to do to get to myself to the next level. And I think every successful person has to be able to have that season because it's easy to work. It's easy to be that person, that guy when everyone's watching, the camera's on.
Yeah.
But you find out who the real dogs are behind when nobody's looking. And when the real work has to happen. And right now, as I'm running for Congress, everyone's excited, like, yeah, this dude, he's getting out there, the young guy, he's running for, and so it's a lot of hype and a lot of, that kind of stuff. But actually to make it successful, there has to be a lot of work and preparation done behind closed doors and nobody's seeing, that I'm having to put in and actually have to build to actually put myself in a position to be that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm in that building season, that working in the dark season, and you find out who you really are more in that season, I feel like, than when the lights come on and the cameras come on, people, see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy it more. I enjoy that kind of season.
Yeah.
More, the journey, the build up.
Yeah.
I think that's where you find out who you are.
That's powerful, bro.
And so that's the season I'm in right now, is I'm really working the dark, building, doing what I got to do behind closed doors, making sure I'm the same man that I show the world, when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I love that, bro, because the reason I love that is because I have this thing where I call them wow moments.
Yeah.
And we only are going to have but so many wow moments in our lives. And the wow moments are the moments where we wow everybody, right? We do something that people see and they're like, oh, wow. But in between those wow moments is what you're talking about, right? The work. It might be tedious, might be mundane. It might just feel like, hey, nobody's cheering for me. Nobody knows what's going on. But that leads up to the next wow moment, right?
Yep.
So I love that. I love that you touched on that. That's dope.
Yeah,
that's
bro.
dope.
It's real. It's real. It ain't sexy. It ain't cute. It ain't, like what, the flash that people think it is, man. It's hard work. There's days you want to give up. There's times you want to just really, you have to really dig deep. And that's the season I'm in right now. Is I'm chasing this purpose. I'm chasing this goal. And I'm tested to see how bad I really want it. You know?
I love that.
And so that's where I'm in right now in terms of building and growing. And then people gonna see the results when the election shows up. You know what happens.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
that's really the season I'm in right now, and I honestly I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To be
man.
honest. Like, you know, everyone, you know, I think a lot of people want that outside validation, the cameras and the lights, you know, all that. And that's cool. But, you know, for me, like I said, I've been in the media eye attention for the last 4 years. And to me, it doesn't excite me no more.
Yeah.
That's not like what drives me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Once you're become a man of purpose, you know, that's all I need. So I'm the same brother, you know, when I have 100 people watching me, then
Yeah.
when I have one person watching me, then when I have nobody watching me. Like,
Yeah.
I have that same motor,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and when your motivation comes from, you know, whether or not you're getting that like validation, you know, it's not consistent,
Gotcha.
you know, and
Mhm.
consistency is what you need.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so
man.
that's kind of how I've been able to, the last couple of years since I've been able to build myself
I
up
love that.
to get to where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's becoming that person.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
And that's dope, man. That's a good season to be in, man. And well, I know we're talking about right now, but I just kind of want to take it back and talk about like your upbringing,
Yeah, man.
growing up. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Man, my upbringing growing up. So I mean, it starts way back with my family. Both my parents are from the West African country called Liberia,
Mhm.
and so like in the late 1990s, there was a whole civil war going on in our country. They were slaughtering our people. Things was happening,
Yeah.
and my dad just, I don't know, you know, I say by the grace of God, happened to be one of the lucky people, you know, to win what they called the international lottery visa at the time, where basically you play this like lottery, whatever. And if you end up winning it, you get a visa to basically travel to whatever country you want if you get a sponsorship.
Wow.
And so while this war is going on, you know, my dad happened to play this lottery visa and won, you know. And so because of that, him and my mom were able to escape as refugees
Mhm.
with my 1-year-old brother at the time, and came to the United States basically with nothing but the clothes on their backs. You know what I'm saying? And so after that, you know, they migrated to Rhode Island because they actually knew some people up there.
Mhm.
And so 2 years later, that's when I was born. So I'm a first generation,
Yeah.
born in Providence, Rhode Island, grew up mostly in Providence, Pawtucket. And man, I said my upbringing, it wasn't easy, man. It wasn't
Yeah.
something, it's not ideal. It's not something you would expect someone in my position right now to come from. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, my mom and dad got divorced when I was really young, probably when I was about 2 years old. So I ended up, you know, growing up a single mom of 4. And we grew up in the projects. You know, we grew up, you know, there's a lot of gang violence, a lot of drug dealers, all that kind of stuff around us at the time. And so naturally growing up, I kind of became that troublemaker kid, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I was kind of getting in fights at school. I got suspended a couple of times. I was really, I remember thinking at this time, man, like my dream during this time period was I wanted to make it to the NBA. You know,
Yeah.
I was a baller. I was a
Yeah.
hooper at the
Crazy.
time,
I
man.
had a similar dream.
Nah,
bro.
Yeah, me too, man.
You know, obviously you can tell by my God-given height that wasn't destined to be. But when I tell you, because I knew that, I was hooping. Like I'm telling you, like I was really skilled.
Yeah.
I was hooping every single day. I was going to the YMCA every single day.
Who was your favorite player at the time?
My favorite player at the time, I've always been a LeBron James fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Look
like
at you.
I've always been an LJ fan. And I just loved, you know, seeing his story and his background, how he did to his mom. It motivated me.
Yeah, for sure.
And my whole thing was I wanted to get my mom out the hood at the time. And so every single day, you know, at that time, I was always a brilliant kid,
Yeah.
always really smart. But to be honest, I didn't give a damn about school at the time.
Mhm.
The whole time I wouldn't care about school. I was just waiting until after school so I could go hoop
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
And all my teachers would be frustrated at me. They're like, Josh, we know you're smart. We know you're capable. Why aren't you doing this? And I'd be like, look, you know, I don't think none of this is gonna help me get to the NBA. So like, I don't really care about none of that. You know what I'm saying?
He
I'm
was
trying.
focused. He was
You know,
focused on something
I was
else.
focused on something else, you know.
Yeah.
I was really driven on that
Yeah,
goal.
Yeah. I feel
And so like, and I really wanted it. And I'm telling you, man, day in and day out. And I think I apply that same kind of character, that drive that I have into what I am now.
Yeah.
I'm looking back and I'm seeing like that still person. It just is manifested into a different like career path and
Yeah.
a different
Yeah.
path.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that same things that build that resilience, that hard work, the day in and day out, I was
Mhm.
practicing all that.
Mhm.
So that was my only motivation at the time. But at the same time, I was kind of getting in trouble. I was hanging around the wrong kids, you know,
Mhm.
and not because that's who I was, but that was just kind of the environment.
Yeah.
And so I really, you know, and that's why I say, I really think when people say that, you know, like anyone in America can make it and anyone can do this and that, they don't understand how much your environment really influences
Yeah.
who you are and what you
Yeah.
can become and what
Yep.
your limitations are
Yep.
and what your ceiling is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it wasn't until, you know, when I was 14, my mom was like, look, Josh, you know, like, I don't think this is a good place for you, and I really think that if you end up staying here, you know, you're gonna end up, you know, joining one of these gangs or going to jail, whatever. So I think it's time for you to go, you know, to the West Coast to live with your dad. And she gave me the option. It wasn't like I was forced to. She was like, I think it would be good for you if you got to change the scenery. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember sitting there like that day and like, you know, I had no reason to really leave. You know, I had all my homies there. I had all my family there, friends there. I was like, why would I, you know? And my dad was kind of in and out of my life, so I didn't really have a good relationship with him at the time. And so I was like, why would I go up and leave? But I don't know what it was. It was like this instinct kicked in, and I was just like, you know what? I'll go. Yeah. It wasn't. I look back now, and I said it like it was on a whim, but it was just so instinctual that it's kind of like a part of me knew that like I had to leave. You know, I didn't, even though I didn't feel any reason to leave.
Wow.
It was one of those instinctual things. I don't know how to describe it.
And you were 14 at that time, right?
I was 14 at the time.
Okay.
And so I remember I ended up getting on a flight and coming out here. And now looking back, man, you know, and it's just so interesting. Sometimes the decisions we make on a whim, that's why like I'm so like cautious with my decision making and all that, because I made that decision on the whim, and that was the game-changing decision in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I just made it on. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, it just made me realize, looking back now, like, man, like, we are all one decision away sometimes from a game changer. You know what I'm saying? And we don't even realize it.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. It could be bad too. You know what I'm saying? It's not always like.
Yeah, it's you know, it's crazy when you say that, because if anybody here goes and reflects on their life, we can pinpoint that tons of moments where we're like, damn, if it went this way,
crazy.
This whole thing would be different. So that's real.
Yeah, bro. So end up coming out here, flying out here. And so where I grew up, you know, it was predominantly African American Latino people. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember coming out here and moving out here with my dad, and we was living kind of the Lynnwood Mukilteo area. And so I'm not gonna cap with y'all, man. When I first came out, it was the first time I seen an Asian person in my life. And it was the first time I seen an Indian person in my life. Okay. I had never seen like an Asian or Indian. Like, we didn't grow up around that. You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up going from the projects to underfunded schools to all this to I remember I was going to Kamak High School. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I remember the first day. I'll tell y'all this story, and then we'll get back to the whole thing, man. I remember the first day, me and my dad were driving down. He's taking me to like the orientation of the school, right? And we're driving down and all that. And I'm just seeing this like the suburban area, all these nice houses and all that things I never seen. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I'm going to school over here. And so I remember, bro, we drove down the middle school. You know Harbor Point Middle School, right? Yeah. It's right near, you know, Kamak High School. I remember we was driving down the middle school. I was like, oh, yeah, this is where we're going to be going to school, right? So I'm going to school. My dad was like, bro, that's the middle school. I was like, whoa, that's the middle school.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm telling you, like, Harbor Point, it looked like a path. I was like, wait, what? That's the middle school? Yeah. All right, so what the high school look like? Because that would have been the size of my, like, high school. You know what I'm saying?
Swear, bro.
Like, I was like, bro, that would have been the size of my actual high school back where I'm from. So I was like, bro.
That was my first thought, because I remember we played them in basketball. I remember going to play them. I'm like, this is crazy.
Bro, I was like, whoa. And so once we got to the actual high school, like Kamak High School, bro, I just remember seeing this, like, palace. And I was like, whoa. Like, I felt like, you know, I was Will Smith, you know that what's that TV? Like, Fresh Prince out of it. I was like, bro, this cannot be my life, for real. Like, I was like, it felt like that.
You had the jacket in reverse.
I was like, so I remember popping out, man, and like, so I had missed orientation for school because that usually happens in the summer and all that, and I came in like September. Yeah. So I remember I popped in, stuff like that. You know, the bell rung, everybody knew where they were going and all that, and I'm just standing there like lost. Like, I'm like the building's like 3 stories. I don't know where to go. I got this piece of paper. And I remember the principal who just passed away this last year, RIP, because he was a good dude. He came up to me. He was standing there. He was like, man, he's like, you know where you're going? I was like, look, I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm from Rhode Island. I don't know nothing about this place. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know nobody. And so I showed him this paper. I was like, yeah, we're my first class. He was like, yeah, your first class is in East Campus. He was like, yeah, you have to go across the bridge. I was like, there's another campus. I'm like, bro, I thought this was it. What you mean this? He was like, yeah, you got to walk. He's like, yeah, you got to walk across the bridge. There's a whole nother campus. Yeah. I was like, bro, what? I was like, yeah, bro, it was a long day. I was like an hour late to every class.
Culture shock,
bro. Like, probably the biggest culture shock I ever experienced. Yeah. I went from going and being around all Black and Latino people to Asian and white. So I didn't know how to operate. I wasn't from here, nothing like that. And so it was a huge like culture shock for me. It took me a while to adjust. And the only reason I ended up adjusting as fast as I did was because I was like a football player,
Yeah.
a track athlete.
Yeah.
So you make friends, do all that, and so that's how I ended up like adjusting, making friends, and all that. And I was a football star there and did all of that. And so. Yeah, bro, that was kind of like a little bit my upbringing, how I came here.
Yeah.
I can go and tell you the whole story, kind of my journey, but I know y'all have more questions.
Well, I love that because I feel like what you're touching on is more so what's kind of developed you, right?
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
what I'm getting from that is you were forced to have to be very adaptable.
Very adaptable, man.
And with that comes a sense of conviction, right? Have to make decisions, have to kind of be your own person, right?
And just have the courage too, man.
And you know what was the cool thing about it too? Like, I think this is why my approach, like y'all know, I'm unapologetically authentic. Because man, when I came out here and everybody was dressing, it was like this whole style. Like people were like wearing Vans and like very like everybody looked the same. It was very plain. There was no like style. And I'm coming from the East Coast. Like I came here with my J's, my Timbs, the hat. I was coming with the East Coast swag. I wasn't playing with nobody. You know what I'm saying? I was being me.
Yeah.
And so like I just remember what it was like when I came here and stuff like that. And I didn't fit in, but everyone was just so appreciative of me. Everyone was like, bro, like what you're like. People started trying to hop on my way.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came here because that's how I know the West Coast is behind the East Coast. I remember when I first came here in 9th grade and someone said something. I was like, yeah, bro, dead ass. And someone was like, dead ass? Like, what does that mean? I was like, what? I was like, y'all ain't never. And one of my homies at the time, he was from New Jersey, that lives here. He's like, bro, they don't know about that lingo yet. It's not. And so now it's funny seeing like out here, like dead ass is like a thing.
Yeah, it's
but
culture.
I tell you, like it like travels from east to west because back then, y'all like it wasn't a thing out here.
Yeah.
And so seeing how like who I was being unapologetic, authentic, it changed the culture of my school to the point where I became like the guy, like I was like the cool guy. Like I think my senior year I was like homecoming king, football. Like everyone started looking up to me, and that because I didn't fit in, because I was unapologetically myself, being myself. People really looked up to me. I stood out, and that's how the case. When I seen that whole thing. Like, even it plays out even to who I am as a politician right now, why I stand out so much. Because everybody's doing the same thing. But I'm out here, being who I am, being authentic. Every single time, I've thrived more being my authentic self than trying to fit in or box in any time. And it comes with a lot because it comes with, a lot of support, but it comes with a lot of criticism. At the same time. Because people aren't used to that. And so you got to be able to handle both. But yeah, man, it was definitely a thing when I think that was a cool thing about it was I realized at a young age that being authentically yourself and moving who you are and having your own like personality and stuff like that actually does better for you long term and longevity than like being like everybody else. You know
that's real. That's real, man. Now let's steer into what I like to call the spark. Or the decision. I think nobody just wakes up and says, yo, I'm about to go run for the city council. I mean, maybe they do, right? But
I did.
Now, I was reading up on you, and there was a quote that stuck out to me. I usually like to pull quotes, but this one was dope, and it was with NPR, and it says, it has an effect. You're speaking about just local government and politics and city government and whatnot. And you said it has an effect on our day-to-day life, and seeing how it can be so impactful, I thought if I truly want to create change and be a difference maker, city council was the first step into that arena, right? Now, can you just take us through the process of like decision-making and how you said, okay, this is what I want to do, and then I'm confidently going to go for it?
Yeah,
like,
man.
Like, lead us up to that, please. You can.
I mean, this is the thing, man. When I tell people, I never saw, it wasn't like politics was the thing I saw for myself. I always tell people I never saw myself as a politician. You know what I'm saying? I always knew I was going to be someone that was going to make a difference and wanted to make a difference. I just didn't know the political arena. And like I said, I'm a believer in God. So I truly believe like God like pushed me in this direction. Because so after high school, how it basically started was after high school, like I thought I was going to be a football player. You know, I thought I was going to get into sports. I thought it was going to be my life. And all that, and then I kind of had a reality check, after high school that wasn't gonna be my path, and so I kind of went through a little bit of identity crisis. I was like, all right, like, after all these accolades I got in high school, after all this stuff like that, like, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I actually? Like now that this is all gone, and so I kind of went on a path and a journey where I was trying to find out who I was, And I really got into my spirituality and like got into, you know, God, and started going to church, started serving and all that. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know who I am. So God, like, I'm gonna need you to like make me who I'm supposed to be. Basically, I let go full control of my life for a whole year. I got baptized. I asked God to like make me who He wanted me to be. You know, I didn't know what that was gonna be. You know, but I just said, you know what, like. And that's a hard thing to do because like I kind of had to. I'm someone that likes to have full control of my life. And a lot of us, we want to have full control, but there's something we all know, man, is bigger than us. We can't we don't have control of it sometimes. And I think that was probably the wisest decision I made at that age. Instead of trying to force things, like I tried different careers. I tried aviation. I was working on airplanes. I was making good money, but I didn't like it. You know, I tried all these other things, and like, you know, there was just something wasn't there. And I couldn't pinpoint it. You know, it just didn't feel like my purpose. And so, and that's the sad thing, because I'm realizing there's a lot of people in this world right now that are working jobs and working careers, and though they're making good money, though they're doing this or that, because I know what it's like, because I've been there. Like, you still feel empty. You know, you still feel like, man, like, you got to get up, and like, it feels like a chore. You know, I'm doing this, like, whatever, man, I'm making this, I got to do for my family. Like, it becomes like you sacrifice your purpose for stability. A lot of people do it. Most people do it. You know, and so at that age, once I started seeking God and all that, it was around the same time, man, 2020 hit. And so as y'all know, 2020 was a crazy year, man.
Crazy.
One of one.
Yeah.
One of one. I don't think we'll ever live
Never.
like that ever again,
I
man.
was
Everything was
shut.
Everything was shut down, all that. So at that time period in 2020, due to everything was being shut down, I got laid off of my job, working in aviation. So I was like, all right, bet, you know, like at that point in time, I think there was given unemployment, was also getting the stimmy, you know what I'm saying? So like, I was like, you know, I'm finna
Shout out to the stimmy.
Shout out to the stimmy. I was like, look, all right, I'm finna be good for a little bit. So like, let me go and chase, like, let me figure this out. You know what I'm saying? And so during those months and all that, that was when the whole thing started happening with like George Floyd, right? And you all know that was crazy at the time, you know, seeing that and like how that went viral, and like there was this whole like, you know, movement, you know, for the BLM movement at that time. And I had never done no activism before. I was never someone that was like considered myself an activist. I'd always been someone that considered myself a humanitarian, that wanted to do good work, that cared about community, but I never like was like considered myself an activist. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't actively doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
And I just remember, bro, like I remember when everything was kicking off, everyone was kind of, I went to the first protest in Seattle and seeing everything was crazy. I don't know if y'all remember, like they lit up some cars,
it was
stores
crazy.
to get ripped. It was a crazy scene, man.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember being there. I was like, man, this is wild. But like, I also felt like I needed to be there as a brother and as someone that cared about, you know, the movement at the time. And so I remember after that, even though that's all happened, I remember seeing people protesting. I didn't feel like called to like put myself out there until there was this one scenario that happened. It was in Snohomish. I remember this. And I remember seeing a video about there was this like little group that went out to Snohomish to protest, you know, to just, you know, show support for, you know, Black lives and all that. And I think there was someone that was like a paraplegic at the time. And there's some other people there that was down there. It's just a small group of them. And I remember this video showing like they were walking down the streets and there were people lined out their stores with like guns, basically like saying, you know, like, you know, you guys not about to do that here. And I remember seeing a video that showed that that small group of people that went up there ended up getting like beat up for coming out there and trying to protest, you know, and someone supported that. And I just remember feeling this fire inside me. I was like, what? I was like, and the paraplegic person ended up getting like beat up, like all of them. And I remember seeing that, and I just remember seeing this, like, there was a fire lit. I was like, nah, they ain't finna do that. Like, that's not right. You know, people should have the right to go and protest. People have this and that. I'm like, you know what? I'm finna go down there. They gotta do that to me. Like, they gonna have to show me that kind of energy, because I'm not here for that. So I remember posting on my Snapchat at the time. I was like, look, I just saw this video happen in downtown Snohomish. I'm finna be down there to go protest and that. Y'all, you know, whoever want to come support. Like, I'm going. You know what I'm saying? And I remember at that time, the friends I had that time were like, Josh, what are you doing? Why are you putting yourself in danger like that? Don't do that. At that time also, like, I think I was dating someone at the time, like, my girlfriend at the time was like, Josh, like, don't go. Like, there's no point like, this is like the height of like that whole move. So like, it was really getting like, it was real a lot of tension. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were getting fights and all that. It was happening. And so like, it was really dangerous at that time to like try to put yourself out there like that. And so I remember like saying to like my girlfriend at the time was like, Josh, like, don't do that. Like, don't, like, there's no point in you going down there. My best friend was like, Josh, no one's gonna hear you down there. Like, there's no point. Everyone was telling me like no, but like I just felt this conviction. Like I'm someone that listens to people that love me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, you know, when you feel so convicted about something, there's nothing nobody could tell you.
Yeah.
It's like you're like,
Yeah.
nah, like I'm finna do this.
Yep.
And that was so uncharacteristic of me. But because of last year I had gone on the spiritual journey, I was so in touch with who I was that like I knew when I was being like pulled in a direction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
It's a unique feeling. I don't know how to
Right.
describe it other than like I felt like God was pulling me in a direction, even though I never walked down that path. You know? And so I remember I posted, it got like screenshots and all that. People were sharing it. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe like, you know, we'll probably have like 50 people show up, maybe something like that. So I remember I ended up driving down there that day. And I'm just thinking to myself in the car. I'm sorry, this is like a whole backstory, but I really think it's important for people to understand this. Like this is how this happened. It was divine. And so I remember driving down there in the car. I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, what the hell are you doing, Josh? You ain't never done like. What are you doing? Like
it's becoming real now.
Yeah, it's becoming it's you know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, you go into the downtown, the home-ish, trying to protest there. Like people out there with like some real like. There's like, Josh, what are you doing? But like. It was this interesting feeling, man. I remember as I'm talking about it to myself, like, what am I doing, all that? There was this sense of peace I had. And it was the kind of peace that, like, I don't know how to describe because it was, like, almost to the point where I was like, man, you know, this is a little dangerous. Like, Josh, you could really, like, something could happen. You could die. Like, people have died at protests doing something like this.
Yeah.
But it was a sense of peace that I had that was like, you know what? If something like that was to me to happen, it would be worth it. And I think a lot of us, we'd never figure out that purpose because there's a certain purpose that when you know that you have a conviction of something, you're going to die for it. Yeah. That's when it becomes real. Yeah. That's when you know that's what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. That's when you become convicted. And like, to me, it was like a sense of peace I had was like, if I was to die for this cause, it would be worth it. And that's why I knew I was like, yep, I'm in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when you reach that state, it's like there's nothing stopping you.
Fearlessness.
You know what I'm saying? Fearlessness. Yeah. That's like the first time I encountered like fearlessness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
And so we drive down, we park at the church. Me and like a group of my friends start driving down there to lead this protest. And I remember we get up and we're getting ready. We're getting our like you know, signs out and our like bullhorn out and all that to go down. And we're gonna walk downtown. And right before we're about to walk downtown, I kid you not, some dude in a red truck with the American flag drives down in the church and like stops right in front of our car. And we're like, gosh, you know, like. He's one like the hill, like you know what I'm saying? Like we're like, damn, it's already finna pop off.
It's starting now.
It's starting now, you know. So like I remember, bro honks his horn, and he goes, which one of you guys is leading this protest down here and all that? And I remember I looked at everyone and I stepped up. I walked. I was thinking to myself, man, all right, here we go. It's finna, you know, it's finna start. And I walk up to the car, and I go like, yeah, I'm the one that's gonna be leading this protest. I'm walking down. We about to lead this protest down there. And he said something to me that shocked me to my core. That to this day, I'll never forget. He goes, well, I just want to let you know. And this is the guy that has like America hat, everything like that. Like we know
who that is.
You know who that is. Yeah. But bro goes and says this, man. He goes, I just want to let you know that you guys have every right to voice your opinions and say what you want to say and protest. And I want to let you know that I got my guns in the back of the car. If anyone bothers you, you let me know. He writes his number on a piece of paper. He gives it to me. He goes, you let me know if someone bothers you, and I'll come down. You guys have every right to go down there and protest. And I stood there in shock. I was like, wow. What? Yeah. I was like, I'm telling you, this is
don't judge a book by its cover.
I was like, and that's why I feel like that was God sending me the first confirmation. Like, yep,
you're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And so I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right, bet. So I grab his number, and so I'm talking for a little comment. I'm like, all right, like if he's with it, everyone gotta be with it. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And so we start walking down, and like I said, when I first posted this thing, man, I'm thinking like, you know, maybe 25, maybe 50 people show up. Yeah. And so we start walking down to downtown Snohomish, and then all of a sudden, bro, we start hearing like loud noises. We're like, bro, like, what is that? Like I'm hearing a lot of people down there. I was like, bro, like what? I was like, yeah, bro. So I was like, people are like there. I was like, I thought we was gonna be the first ones. And so we ended up walking down, stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, bro, it's starting to get a little louder. And so as we walked down, we turned the corner, bro. Like it was the most craziest thing. To this day, I remember it vividly. Like I seen people from the front of the road all the way down to the end of the road, like lined up with like signs, with like bullhorns, with all this. I'm looking down there, and I'm like, what? Like, and this is, I'm telling, like, I posted this on Snapchat. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, like,
Yeah.
my bro's gonna see this, and
Yeah.
this is, we just gonna, like, ride.
Yeah.
And, like, for me to see, and, like, I remember we did a head count. There were over 700 people that showed up that day.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And like, was there lined up from the front of the road to the end of the road.
That's major.
Like, it was insane. And so I remember that. And then at the same time, like I said, I organized this thing, but I ain't never done no protest before. So in my head, I'm like, I had the horn and stuff like that, and like everyone's gathering around. I'm like, okay, like who wants this? Like who's gonna get this started?
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at me and like, Josh, like you organized this, you lead it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I never thought of that. I was like, I was gonna organize. I was like, I ain't never led no.
I just told everybody.
I just told everybody to pull up. You know what I'm saying? So like, it became this move. I ended up getting the horn. I was like, all right, like here we go. I'm about to lead this. So I started leading the protests and all that. We marched all the way around town and all that kind of stuff. We stopped at a couple points. I was speaking and all that. And, you know, there was a point in time we all linked up in the streets and we're saying chants. We ended up coming back to the town. And I don't know what took over me at the time, but I had everyone sit down on the concrete and I gave a speech. You know, it was like, it was not planned or something I hadn't, stuff like that, but I just spoke from the heart about why it's important that we continue doing the work we're doing and how we need unity, how we need to continue fighting against, you know, oppression, this kind of stuff. And I just gave a whole spiel from the heart. And at the end of it, like everyone was, you know, clapping and stuff like that. It was, you know, and like it was a like whole deal and all of that. Shook everybody's hand, stuff like that. And like, you know, everyone was like, it ended the protest. It ended peacefully. There was no fighting, none of that. And so after that, man, I remember talking to everyone at the end, and I'm getting my car, and then we ended up leaving. And on my drive home, I'm like, man, you know what? God, you know, I did it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know, I did what you told me to do. And, you know, I could walk away from this now and say, you know what? I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, you know, that's it, you know? And so my phone had been shut off this whole time, so I don't know what's going on, all that. And so by the time I get home, I remember this. I turn on my phone, and my notifications is, like, blowing up.
Yeah.
Like, blowing up. And I'm like, bro, what is this? I ain't never seen my whole thing just, like, crazy.
Yeah.
And all I'm seeing, I go on, like, social media, on, like, TikTok, on, like, Instagram, and there's like posts and stuff like that, like mentions, all like that. People talking about how like I gave this amazing speech, how I led this amazing protest downtown. Like it was like blowing up on social. Everyone was talking about it. It was, like, and I'm thinking, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And I'm like, it was like going crazy, like, and stuff like that. And to the point, I'm like, whoa, this is wild. Like, and this is what I'm saying. Like, this is the same thing. This is why I say we're all one decision away from like, you know, something that's gonna make or break us, because everyone in my life at that time was telling me, Josh, don't go do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My girlfriend, best friend, family, everyone. And I felt convinced. I was like, nah, I'm going to do this. And so after that whole thing happened, I ended up getting a call from the mayor of a neighboring town in Woodinville. Her name was Elaine.
Okay.
And she calls me. She's like, hey, Josh, I would like to schedule a meeting with you to come down to our office here and stuff like that. So I remember me and my friend at the time, we came down to Woodinville and stuff like that. We sat down in the mayor's office, her and the police chief. She said, we saw everything you did in downtown Snohomish. She saw the place. We've been seeing videos all about all that. We want you to organize something like that similar here in our town, Woodinville, and stuff like that. And so I remember I ended up walking with the police chief at the time. They're asking me what roads we want shut off, what things we want down. And so I started getting calls all across the district, the area. It started in Woodinville, then it went to Mukilteo, then it went to Lynnwood. And then I started becoming this face. Like I was getting protests. Thousands of people were coming out to marches to hear me speak about this and that. And I became this figure. It was in the news and the papers, and then I just became this figure of like the movement as a young leader, stuff like that. Of that whole time, it was crazy, and
that's amazing.
It was an insane thing.
That's amazing because I know the question I asked was about city council.
It's gonna get there.
No. Yeah. But to get it and then getting into that position. But what's interesting about this was you're showing how you got to be a leader before any title, before anything. You got to actually be the thing. And then you go and put yourself in the position to do the thing you already were doing. I love that.
And so it was a crazy thing. Like I'm seeing myself, like I'm becoming this face of this thing, and I'm becoming this leader and all that. And I'm starting leading all these protests all across the district. I think we led about 10 different ones in different cities. It's like that the city mayors would reach out and have me come in, and like they'll ask me what roads we want blocked off, what protests, how we should do this and all that. So it became a thing, you know, and I became like the face of this thing. And so this is, like I said, this is not something I planned. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was just gonna lead one protest and call it good. I was
Yeah.
doing my thing, and then all of a sudden I was being like,
You stepped into
stepped
it.
into it. You know,
Yeah.
like when the leadership, when they called me out,
Yeah.
you know, I stepped into it. And so after all this, and you know, this is happening and all that, I just kept hearing, you know, people in their ear saying, Josh, like your leadership ability, what you're doing, your ability to draw people out here and speak life into them, and speak, like, you know, like purpose into them and stuff like that, to actually want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Like this leadership ability, like, have you ever thought about, you know, running for office? And I remember, like, multiple people just telling me, like, yeah, I'm like, bro, I'm like, dude, I'm 21. Like, but I'm like, can I even run? I'm like, I don't know. Is that even legal?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know it was, like, actually, like, I could do it.
Yeah, that's
At
right.
the time, because at the time, like, politics wasn't even something on my radar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even know the rules. Like,
Yeah.
of
I
what
mean,
it
and
was.
then, you know, normally at that age, most, I mean, there's a reason why you're the youngest, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people probably aren't.
We're in college.
Really, yeah, they're not
Yeah.
thinking about trying to step up into that position. So
Yep.
That's
And
real.
so, like, that's the thing. Like, I just kept hearing that and stuff like that. And so I remember at that time frame and all that, like, it was when, you know, things started dying down a little bit, and I was like, you know what, like, this is great. We're able to get people out and talk about what we want to change and all that. But I'm like, the real change ain't gonna come from just vocalizing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna actually come when we can put the pen to paper.
Yeah.
You know, when we could actually have legislation. You know, actually have reform.
Mhm.
And so the whole time I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, you know, like, I'm having a little conversation with people around me. I'm like, bro, like, I you know, should I run for office? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, like, I don't know, you know, what that would entail. I don't know. I've never ran a campaign,
Mhm.
never done all that. But, you know, like, from my experience, what I've been doing, really, like, I know how to organize. I know
Yeah.
how to get people together.
Yeah.
I know how to give a message that, you know, and how to push for change
Yeah.
and all that. And I'm passionate about this. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm feeling this is my purpose. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And, you know, I have people at times tell me, you know, Josh, you're crazy. Like, it was one thing to be a whole, like, you know, leader in a
Yeah.
movement, like, as an activist. It's a whole other thing to run for one of these seats in office and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And, like, hold a position of power where you have people voting for you in.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, Lynnwood, even though it's getting more diverse now, and, like, the areas become more diverse, it's still a predominantly white, older town.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, predominantly. So, like, people are asking me, like, bro, you have to convince people at 21 with no college degree, no political experience, that they should vote for you, over a 21-year-old African American over
Yeah.
some older white person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could think about it logically. You
Yeah.
know, like, for a lot of people, it wouldn't make
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And so there was a lot of, like, opposition to it, and a lot of, like, doubt, and a lot of, like, stuff like that. But again, I just, like, felt convicted. I was like, you know what? Like, I understand the odds, I understand all that, but I just think this is, you know, what I'm meant to do.
No.
I don't know what the outcome's gonna be, and that's the thing. You know, a lot of people want success, but they don't understand what comes with success. Like, there's a certain level of season in your life when there has to be faith, and it has to be faith in something that you can't even see.
That's real.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even visible. Like, there's a vision of it, but there's no navigation of how to get there. There's
That's
no
real.
and like there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, you find out who's really about it when they're gonna do the same work with no guarantees than they will if there is a guarantee.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of people do the work when they're guaranteed
Yeah.
Yeah.
a paycheck. You know, when
Yeah.
you go to work when you're guaranteed a paycheck.
100%.
But you're gonna go to work and do the same thing if you're not guaranteed a paycheck, and you
Yeah.
have to. That's why, you know, industries like real estate and all the
Yeah.
other industries, like, you're not guaranteed none, but you got to be a dog and
Well,
get
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
what's interesting about that is you either want to be better and you want to be great, or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Those other things that come with it are obviously additional rewards.
Mm-hmm.
I always look at sports as a perfect example. You'll see a player get a big contract. The big contract doesn't guarantee that player is going to be a great player.
No.
Yeah.
It just means that they put themselves in a great position
Mhm.
to earn a great living,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Real.
I just love that you brought that up, because I think it is important for people to understand. Like, you got to really want to be great at the position.
You have to want to be great, and you have to have faith in the unknown. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be willing to bet on yourself, even if there's not something that's tangible for you to get at that moment.
That's real.
But you have
Yeah.
to trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And so, like, for instance, like, I could have ran this whole campaign for a whole year and lost in the end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could have ran, and there's no guarantee I would have won. The odds were actually against me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. How many people are willing to take the chance to fail while also taking the chance to succeed?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So many people, if there's a chance to fail, they won't even do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They want a
Because
sure thing.
because that sure thing. You know, like, how many people are willing to bet on themselves when there's equal chance to fail as there is to succeed?
Mhm.
That's when you find out who's really about it. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
right.
like, when I first put myself out there and said I was going to run for this office at 21, I remember like King 5 News reached out to me and stuff like that. They said, hey, we heard about you, this young guy's trying to run for office and all that. And so I remember, like I said, I didn't know how I was going to do this race. I never ran, but like I knew like I wanted to do this. So like my campaign manager at the time that I got, he was 21, my age, also very passionate. I got hooked up with like a consultant. His name's Real, super cool guy. And so like I was just like, you know, building a team. I was like, all right, like I don't know how I'm going to do this, but like we going to figure it out. And so I remember just like I started emailing all these news outlets telling them about me, like, yeah, you know, like I'm running for office in 21, you know, like, you know, it's going to be history if I can make this happen. And King 5 News reached out to me like, hey, we like to talk about you and your story. So they met up with me at Edmonds College at the time, and I kind of talked about myself, talked about what I want to do, talk about, you know, like, you know, my journey while I was running for office. And then they ended up running that story later that night. And after they ran that story, it like blew up. It was like one of their bigger stories. It was like 21-year-old, you know, BLM activists running for office to make it. It like blew up on Facebook. It like blew up everywhere. And I started getting phone calls, and I posted on TikTok, and it started blowing up on TikTok and stuff like that. And so like I started getting like all this like I said, and this wasn't things that I planned out. You know what I'm saying? This is just like I was just going with it. And so like once it started blowing up and I started getting tracked, like the biggest thing when you're getting ready to do something like that and like run for office is people have to know you're running. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot of the battle when it comes to doing these kind of races and all that, is people don't know who the candidates are.
You gotta definitely promote yourself.
You gotta promote yourself.
Put yourself
And so like I happen to be in a position where like I put myself where like the news is blowing it up, TikTok blowing up, so people started to know about my candidacy, and so I started getting my name out there. You know, and so and I was like, yeah, you know, like at this time, like I was running unopposed for the first basically 6-7 months of my campaign. I had no opponent. You know what I'm saying? So like it wasn't until the last day, the deadline, the filing deadline. And I'll tell y'all the story because this is where I say it comes, like you have to really find out who's really about it. You know what I'm saying? So up until 7 months of my campaign, it looked like I was going to get the seat. I'm over there chilling. I was getting all these endorsements. I was getting, you know, fundraising. I'm like, you know, I'm going to walk, up.
It's
like,
easy,
I'm going to walk
win.
up in easy win. You know, like
win.
I knew I should have ran. I told y'all, like I should have ran. Like y'all was all down. I'm like, I told y'all I should have did this. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I remember like it was the day, the deadline. And so like, I'm checking because the closing deadline is at 5 p.m., right? And so I'm checking in. I check back in at 11 o'clock. I ain't got no opponent. I'm like, bet, you know, we locked in. You know, I'm going to walk up in this, you know, but I should have known they ain't going to give a black man none. I should have known they wasn't going to give me none. Like, I know they was going to hand me some. I should have known this. And so I checked back in, 1 o'clock, still no opponent. I'm like, okay, you know, it's smooth. Like, this really looking good. And so I remember a couple hours later, I wait again. I check back in at 3 o'clock. One person joins in the race. I'm like, who's this dude? It was some dude named James. And so, like, James Rutherford, I'm like, all right, like, I don't know who bro is, but I was like, all right, like, you know, like, whatever, you know, I guess this is good because at least I look like I beat somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like it's just handed to me. And so, like, I'm like, all right, good. So I check back in, 4:45. It's just me and him. And so if you only have 2 people in a race, there's no primary election in August. You just go to the November election.
Gotcha.
But if more than 2 people join the race, you have to go through a primary in August, and then the top 2 go to the election in November, right?
Yep.
So if you only have 2 people, you don't have to worry about the August election. It's just straight to the ballot in November. So like I was like, all right, you know, like I had till November to handle this dude. Like, all right, I don't know who he is, but we'll see what's up. And so I remember at 4:45, it was just me and him. I checked back in at 4:50, just me and him. I'm like, all right, this is dope. All right, I'll take him. And I checked back in at 4:55, 5 minutes before the deadline was supposed to be. And I see another person join the race. It was a woman named Lisa. I'm like, damn, now I gotta go do a primary. And I'm like, and so I don't know who these people are. And so I remember at the time, 5 o'clock hits, and I ended up calling, like, at that time, the former mayor was in support of me. And so I remember calling her, and I was like, yeah. She's like, how's everything going? Like, what's the results and all that? I'm like, yeah, you know, 2 people joined my race, but, you know, it is what it is. And she's like, oh, do you know who? I was like, yeah, some guy named James Rutherford, something like that. She's like, oh, yeah, I've seen him before. He's like, don't worry about him. He's like one of those people that runs every other year, and he don't do, like, he's not a factor. I'm like, all right, bet. I'm like, that's cool. And I was like, yeah, and another woman named Lisa Utter. And she pauses, and she goes, Lisa Utter? And I'm like, yeah? She's like, oh, God. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what you mean? Like, she goes, she's a former city council member, was there for a little over a decade, hadn't lost an election. She's an older white woman, very well known in the community. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, why she choose to run against me? And she's like, I don't know. She's also technically was supposed to be a Democrat. But yeah, she decided she was gonna run against me. Stuff like that. And I remember myself, like at that point in time, I sat in my car. I felt a little defeated because I'm like, damn, I'm like now the real factor is I'm 20. Like it's hit. At first I thought I was just gonna get it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But now the real factor is hitting me. Like I'm 21.
Yeah.
I'm not a college graduate yet.
Yeah.
I'm still, like I don't have any political experience.
Yeah.
Now this woman who's done the job.
Yeah.
Who's been there, who hadn't lost an election ever.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And she has her master's degree. She's, in the community. She helps with the homeless shelter. And now I have to take that on.
Yeah.
And at that time point, I felt a little defeated. I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do this. And at that time point, like I ended up talking to my girlfriend at the time. I sat in the car, and she was like, you know what, Josh, you just gotta trust why God put you in this position to do it.
Yeah.
And you can't feel defeated. You shouldn't want anything handed to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at that time point, I remember saying to myself, I ended up getting back to myself, you know what? If she's gonna beat me, she's gonna have to earn it. She ain't just gonna get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like she's gonna have to really beat me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I felt like this dog mentality kick in. I was like, yeah, you know what? This is what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go get it. So every single day I was out door knocking, I was out community, I was fundraising, I was doing all I gotta do.
Yeah.
And I remember like every single time, and this is what I'm saying, like there's always barriers, and you always get tested how bad you want something. Because I would go to some of these endorsement meetings, and they were all friends with her and all that. And so they would endorse her, and they would endorse me, and all these, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like I would always have these little moments of defeat, where I go out a door and I door knock, and so I'd give someone my flyer, and they ask me how old I am. I'm like, I'm 21. They laugh and just shut the door.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like those little moments where you feel defeated.
Yeah.
And every single time I have to get back, I'm like, no, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It sounds like and thank you for sharing that, bro.
Yeah, man. It was not like no linear easy path.
No. I think, and I love that you're giving the context and the process of it, right?
Yeah.
I do want to also like be able to give you a chance to speak to those who may want to enter in the same position that you're in or go down the same route, right? Because you obviously won, but I wanted to know, like, what is it like being in what's a traditional political system as a new, fresh, considered like young type of energy? And like, do you have advice on how people can come in and kind of like learn how the things are run, but then also add your new flavor? Like, how did you do that?
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, they didn't expect me to win. You know what I'm saying? So when I won, it really took a lot of people off guard. And so I was coming in, hopefully it's not like this for every young person, but for me in my scenario, I was coming in with a lot of hostility. You know what I'm saying? Like, people look at me like I don't belong there. Like, people wasn't trying to give me no advice. They wasn't trying to give me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, I was coming into a whole different situation that I hope no young person has to go into in terms of, like, having to walk in a situation where you're not the chosen person that they want. So they're not going to give you, like, any, like, help at all.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
stuff like that. And so when I was coming in, I was facing a lot of hostility from the jump. There wasn't no one really to like mentor me and stuff like that. So I really had to learn the game on my own. I had to learn certain things on my own and all that. But it was also an incredible thing. And I started realizing the morals there, and I started like having conversations with these people. We started all going on the diets and voting on things. Just how narrow-sighted, some of these people that have been there for so long are. They don't like, and for me, like, I'm seeing the world in a completely different lens. As someone that's growing up as a younger generation, as a BIPOC generation, growing up in an African family, rented apartments, stuff like that. Like, a lot of these people are like older, white, lived in the same house. Come from some sort of financial stability, and like have that whole connect, like it's lineage. So like how they view the world, how they view issues is completely different than how someone from my background could see someone and see issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like just seeing how like they saw things and how like and some of these people, they're also stuck in how things were, and it becomes and not how they are. So it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I realized that you have to choose to grow. You have to choose to gain more knowledge. You have to choose to like as you get older. You know what I'm saying? Because it becomes harder.
Yeah.
When there's older people that are still stuck in the mentality that they had when they were, like 10 years ago or something like that, compared to now what the world is.
Yeah.
And so like I'm seeing that a lot of these people are stuck in what Lynnwood used to be, and couldn't understand that. There's a reason I'm elected now, because Lynnwood's not what you guys used to have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's different now.
That's real.
And so I came in, and when I came in, I had, there was also, I hate to say it because I don't want to make it anything bigger, but it was, there's a lot of animosity, a lot of jealousy. You had all this new guys coming in. All of a sudden, people are seeing the face, like they're trying to see the face of Lynnwood. All this media attention, all this hype and all that.
Yeah.
And so you have these people that have been there for a while, that like feel a certain type of way, because like, they're like,
because you got the swag.
Yeah. and like,
because you are who you are.
And I think, and when I came in, I wasn't bowing down to nobody, and I was trying to get to work right away. I started getting involved right away.
Yeah.
I started getting in the community right away.
Yeah.
I knew the issues because I was living it, so I knew what was important. So I knew how to take it on.
You're being yourself, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're being yourself too.
Yeah.
So.
And being myself.
Yeah.
And these people, they don't truly understand the community and all that. Some of them, or they only understand a certain perspective of the community. So they're not seeing some of these other things. So I'm like picking up in these places where they can't. And me being younger as well, like that's when I started speaking to the youth. I started going out into the community, really getting myself involved and stuff like that. And so I think even though it had its cons in terms of like I was coming into a lot of hostility, my advice to young people that want to go down this path and all of that is, I think you have to make sure that you really, really are locked in your purpose and who you are and what you want to accomplish. Only because when you get into these spaces as a young person, there's always going to be a sense of you have to like earn your stripes, or you have to like wait your turn, or you have to do all this, and you have to be willing to still know that at the end of the day, like for me, like I had to show, like I didn't, not that I had to prove nothing to them, but it's like they didn't understand once I got elected, we were all the same level of influence. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like we're colleagues now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm younger, like I literally went to high school with one of my council members' daughters. Like we went to high school together.
Gotcha.
So like you have to earn, like it's like it's like they see me as a kid, but at the end of the day we're the same. Position of power.
Yep.
And so I tell young people, don't be afraid to be authentically yourself and all of that, even though, and that's why I would say the last couple of years that y'all seen, like they come after me, you know what I'm saying? Like they try and stuff like that, and they don't understand. It actually does a negative effect because people start like following me, like, okay, what's this kid really about? And they start seeing me like, oh, this kid's like really doing some stuff. There's a certain level of in politics where if you don't walk down this certain thin line and stuff like that, if you stand out and all of that, like politicians aren't supposed to stand out. You're not supposed to be like, flashy. You're not supposed to be authentic. You're not supposed to be bold. You're not
have
supposed style, be on social media, do all of that. Because a lot of them are older, so they don't even know how to use that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's an advantage.
Yeah.
But also, like and you're not supposed to look that certain way. And so you have someone like me. I'm over here going on school tours. Like I'm speaking to all the youth and it's getting media attention. I'm like writing a book. I'm like out in DC, like me and other me like getting invited down to the White House. Like I'm doing all these things that are above and beyond what a council member is supposed to be doing. And I'm getting a lot of recognition for it. So you can only imagine that puts a huge target on someone like me's back. Because a lot of them are seeing that and they're like, okay, we gotta stop this kid in his tracks because if he keeps going down this path,
it's so interesting, man. Because what do you think about that? Because
I think it's dope because it breaks down that barrier between the people and the politicians. You know what I'm saying? That's been there for so long. So when someone like you comes along, it's refreshing for us, and we feel like you're one of us. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's like accessibility. You know what I'm saying? Now we feel a little more closer to the city council, and like actually like we have influence as well because there's somebody like you there, so
that's really gonna be a voice. And that's what I think that's what they can't relate to because they're not able to connect with the community because a lot of these people were told if you want to be in this position you have to give this and that up. And so them seeing me come in the same position, not to give any of myself up, not to give any of my authenticity up, it irks them because they're like I didn't have to give up, like my authenticity, this and that, to fit into this mold. And this kid thinks he's gonna come in here and just be himself and just be whatever, and all that. Because so it put a huge target on my back, from the get go. And I think they're not used to someone having people power.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these people, you see a lot of these positions, it's all planned out, man. They have people lined up for all these seats that they already know they're gonna run and all of that. And so they like, it's not usual for someone to come in and like take something. Like, you have to go in and take it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
And so when I came in and like was like the odd person out of it, it really put a huge target on my back because they tried to make an example of me, saying like, okay, we got to get this kid out the game, because we want to make an example out of him that if you come in here and you're like Josh Binda, this is what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And so that's when y'all started seeing, when they started attacking me on the news, they try to get me recalled, they try to do all this and that stuff like that. The average person, they're used to people also when they're in those situations folding and quitting. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting, like, politicians aren't used to that kind of scrutiny.
Yeah.
Not used to that kind of, like, stuff like that. They're like, a lot of these people, they're weak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they don't understand, like, bro, I'm from the projects. Like, I'm from the, like, there's days I didn't go eat, and you think a little, like, media and all that's going to stop me? Like, they're not used to someone with, like, real grit and real strength.
Well, also, I think what's important to note here is how to live in your truth and stand on your truth. And even when you know your truth may be misunderstood. And it's not wrong, but it may be misunderstood. You still got to stand on it.
That's the one thing I've had to get accustomed with, is being misunderstood. And sometimes it does feel isolated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, being misunderstood and, like, people viewing you a certain way no matter what.
I think leadership comes with
leadership,
that, though.
like any great leader, you're going to be misunderstood. And something I had to get used to. Both up until this point in politics, I've always been that one dude that was cool with everyone. I could go into anywhere and, like, everyone I'm friends with and all that. And once I got into politics, man, it's like half the people, no matter what you do, say, whatever, gonna hate you because you align with the party or whatever. And half the people gonna always not know, gonna have nothing to say about you. And everyone that was like, it was interesting, man, when I was the underdog and when I was really, like, running for office, and everyone thought it was cute because I was running for office at 21 and all this and that. Like, you know, there's an opportunity. Like, when I was the underdog, everyone was, like, really cheering me on. Like, yeah, Josh, like, go after it and all that. But then once I actually got it, and then not only that I got it, and I started doing more, and I started doing more, I started excelling and all that. Once I slowly started becoming from the underdog to, like, that dude that's consistently, like, succeeding. Man, I saw some of the people that were, like, my biggest supporters start turning to some of the biggest critics. Like, people start going from supporting you to criticizing you.
Wow.
Once you're no longer the underdog, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so interesting to see because it's like everyone wants to support you when they see you at least on their level or somewhere near it. Once you start rising above and doing things that like people saw that they didn't think you was capable of, then all of a sudden they can't relate, so all they can do is criticize.
Well, what you're doing is you're shattering their predisposition
of who you are.
And
people are always gonna get stuck on who they used to see you as, who they know as you. So for them, it's inconceivable.
You got to grow with people. You can't just be stuck and watch.
And that's the thing. That's real. I think for me, man, it's been a very interesting thing going from 21 and getting elected to now 24. 2025 this year. It's like there's not many people, if any, that's I feel like I could relate to doing what I'm doing or in the space that
I would assume, bro.
No, and so like for me, like it kind of puts me in the island because I don't have like that group of people that I truly feel like understand like how I have to move and what I got to do in a certain position, because being elected at my age, there's a reason, like, when you're the first person to do something, like, no one's walked that path. So I don't have a mentor that could tell me, hey, Josh, this is what you got to do going forward. Because, like, it's such a one person like, pathway, path forward.
It's your path.
It's my path. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what comes when you're someone that's breaking barriers. It's amazing because you open the door, but then also, like, it's like, how do you, like, when you're, after you open that door, you're the only person that can continue walking through that door. Everyone else behind that door that wasn't there when you opened it or was there, they stay at that door. But as a person that breaks that barrier and goes through and you're walking through, there's nobody else there like but you, because at the end of the day, you're the only person that understands that path, that can walk that path, and that understands what it takes going forward.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something I had to get accustomed to, is like being, like you said, being misunderstood, being seen as something that I'm not. People wanting to pin you down. People wanting to put labels on you, all that kind of stuff like that. And I got to a point now, it just don't faze me. You know what I'm saying? And I realized for every hater, there was someone that was just as inspired. And that's how it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of always cancels out.
It's always gonna be like a balance.
And you need both. Like, I love having haters. Like, I honestly will say this, like, for someone and all that, my haters have been the thing that has evolved me the most. If it wasn't for the haters that I got, that was coming at me, that was attacking me, that was putting me in the news, all that, I wouldn't have become a household name. You know what I'm saying? My haters evolved me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People like, I appreciate, like, my haters actually got me to see some of my own flaws. And so, okay, like, I gotta navigate differently. I can't go that because
that's a great way to look at it.
Life is about perspective. You know what I'm saying? When I started seeing my haters are gonna be the thing that turn me to what I need to be to get to the next level, and I started really peeping like that, I started really appreciating every time someone hate on me, had a criticism, I'm like, okay, like I see, I'm seeing it from a perspective where I'm like, okay, this is where I gotta grow so that I can't be attacked in that way no more.
Yeah, well,
or that's what I gotta see.
What's interesting too is I think you've always had a growth mindset. So I feel like when you do encounter criticism, having a growth mindset, you're gonna like, okay, well, if I can use this to grow, I'm gonna do it.
That's it.
And if it doesn't help me grow, then whatever.
I think most people's flaws is they let that criticism actually hit them deep in their soul, where it becomes defining.
Take it personal.
Yeah, it defines them.
Yeah.
So like that. I don't let it criticism bounces off of me,
Love it.
but I also acknowledge it, and I also use it to navigate how to move forward.
Right.
And also, like I said, the haters, man, are the ones that got me to where I'm at. Like I would be a local councilman that y'all never heard about.
Yeah.
Was for all these haters coming after me and be like who, like, you know what I'm saying? Like who's
Yeah.
this bro?
No,
Like
that's real.
They're coming after.
Yeah,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like once I started seeing from that perspective, man, like I'm not, people hate on me all day. The more people are hating, the more people are talking. And like every hater, there's gonna be someone that. And that's the same thing. Like it's like Donald Trump. I hate, like, a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, but he's the most talked about politician in America. He has the most, like, just because of how much hate he gets, people still are still talking about him. You know what I'm saying? And he still be like, there's half the people that are still gonna love him no matter what.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those effects in politics.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, because you brought up breaking barriers. You know, so I wanted to kind of ask you, like, what led you into actually writing the book, Breaking Barriers. You know.
And I think a big part of that, why I decided to write the book, is because, like I said, once I became that person that did that and saw my path towards that and saw what it took for me to get there, my goal is I don't want to be the only one. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be the only one that breaks. And the whole point, breaking barriers, it's not just about politics. It's about life. Yeah. Like, I started realizing, man, as I was achieving all these things, that I didn't even know I was capable of doing it. Most of the battle was myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I put these barriers in front of me that I had to overcome in order for me to evolve and become to the next level. Yeah. And a lot of us, I feel like in life, we don't realize we're our own worst enemy. Yeah, people are critics, and yeah, people have this and that and doubts and all that and this, all that. But at the end of the day, our mentality, how we see ourselves, how we view the world, and how we view, like, just our traumas and our past, truly is what sets us up for how we're going to go forward. You know what I'm saying? And so once I started realizing that, I started overcoming my own personal traumas, my own personal experiences, and, like, breaking all those, I'm talking about those barriers. Yeah. Because that's what a lot of people's barriers are. The insecurity, the self-doubt. You know, I went through this, and, like, the victimization of our past, because we could all be victims of our past. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
And that is what holds us back more than any person or any barrier, for the most part. That holds us back. Yeah. And so I wanted to create a book that not only talked about my journey breaking barriers in politics, but also it's a self-help book. You can actually journal in this book. There's different chapters.
I love that.
There's 10 chapters in it.
I love that. That's dope.
There's 10 chapters in it. You could journal in it, and each chapter is about something. Like, for instance, like one of the chapters is, let's say, let the haters hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's chapter 6 in the book. And it's all about how, you know, like I talked about, like, haters are your biggest motivator and this and that, using that. And then, like, for instance, there'll be a page where it's like 6 questions. One question will be like, who would you say are some of the haters in your life, this and that? You can journal it down, stuff like that. How can you not allow that to, and, like, there's questions to ask you. And then after that, after the set of questions, the next page is a whole reflection page of what you got from the chapter.
Love that.
And how you're going to amplify that in your life. So it's supposed to help people break through their own barriers to become successful. So I think a lot of people put their success story out there and write books about their own journey, all that. But most of the time, that can't be replicated. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's your journey. And so this book is supposed to help people on their journey. You know what I'm saying? How can they break their barriers and become the best version of themselves? It doesn't have to look like running for office and making history.
That's real.
It doesn't have to look at all. It could be as simple as breaking through barriers so you could become the best husband in your life. So you become the best worker in your life. So you can be the best version of yourself. Yeah. Because that's the only way you can live to your potential.
I love that.
That was a part of my
process. That's dope.
It took me 2 years to write that book. And I really was trying to find a way where I could give game to people that want to get to that. Because after experiencing that personally and having to break through that personally, I think if more people could do that and get to that level, I think we'll see so many people accomplish amazing things in this world. Man.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that was my purpose in writing that, man. And
Yeah.
it's sold quite a bit of copies. Now I don't know what the numbers are, but a lot of people have bought the book and have talked to me about it and reached out to me saying, "Man, this book is game changer. We really appreciate you writing this. It's so cool seeing someone in your position be, because I was actually vulnerable in the book too about some of my stories, about some of my life and all that, and some of the insecurities I dealt with, some of the struggles I went through, and how I had to work through them in order to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because when you're someone that sees someone successful and all that, it's hard to be able to relate to them because we feel like successful people just had it, like always had it like that.
Yeah.
And so when you see someone that's like me, like I'm like, bro, I ain't never had it like that. Like I definitely struggle. It becomes relatable, which invokes inspiration.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And you're allowing people to pretty much put everything that they face and process through that, you know, because a lot of people, including myself and, you know, just everyone, like sometimes we don't process the things that we're supposed to.
Exactly. And I think that's what it's about. It's really about just allowing people to be vulnerable with themselves.
Yeah.
Being able to process, you know, what they're going through and truly hold themselves accountable. Yeah. It can be like an accountability book.
Right.
Where you can look at it and be like, all right, this is my weaknesses and strengths. How can I overcome that?
I love that, man. I love that. That's amazing, man. Josh, man, you've been dropping a lot of gems, bro.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, man. I be conversating.
No, I love it, bro, because, you know,
I
think people need to see the context, man.
For real.
You know, you're doing a lot of amazing work, and the context is important, and I'm glad you're able to share that with us, bro. Now, before we kind of wrap things up here, as you mentioned early in the show, you are running for Congress, right? Washington State, District 2. I know there's probably going to be, down the line, there's going to be like way more pushing and promoting and kind of campaigning, if you want to call it that. But can you just kind of give people an inside look on like kind of what they can expect from you, and what kind of change are you trying to bring on that level, I guess? I'm just curious.
Yeah, man. It really, I took a lot of contemplating before I decided to take this step, because a lot of people, when they talk about, you know, for me, I'm challenging an incumbent that had been there for close to 30 years in the same party as me. You know, so in the political world, this is like not supposed to something you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of questions like, Josh, why and this and that. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to representation. It comes down to our community. It comes down to change and truly understanding what the community needs are, what the values are, and what we truly need to be able to move forward. You know, when you have someone that's been there for that long and stuff like that, it no longer becomes about the people, but it becomes about, you know, just getting elected the next cycle and all of that. And my opponent that I'm facing right now, who's been there for over 2 decades, he's been there almost as long as I've been alive. Basically, he's funded by all the big businesses and corporations and all of that. So for him, you know what I'm saying, it's all about serving them. You know what I'm saying? It's no longer about the people, because people aren't going to be bankrolling his campaigns. They're not going to be doing this and that. So whatever they want to make them to get passed or get done is what he's going to do. Yeah. And so we have right now, I'm seeing the world from my generation, man. We're having one of the biggest affordable housing crises in our district. People are getting gentrified out of our communities. People are losing their homes. People are literally coming to our city hall. Now I'm going to let the leader. So I'm really seeing this and like saying, man, I can't no longer, I used to live here for decades. I can't afford to live here no more. The prices are going up. There's no renters protection. There's nothing like that going on. And so right now, and in my generation, a lot of us can't even afford to live on our own. Most people in my generation really can't do it. You know, you have to make a certain amount that 24-year-olds usually, you know, I'm blessed where I do live on my own, but most people my age can't do that. You know, so we're really facing a lot of these issues in terms of that. And in terms of like funding when it comes to our schools and mental health. There's a huge issue right now with schools and children and mental health and everything that's going on that's related to that. And I think a project we were able to do in Lynnwood that I was able to lead and lead the charge for was getting funding for mental health clinicians now that are in our elementary, middle school, and high schools in Lynnwood. We put $200,000 in funding towards that to actually have people helping with kids and mental health, which is directly impacting, you know, our youth. And so there's so many issues when it comes to that. When it comes to healthcare, you know, a lot of people now are choosing between having to go to the hospital and like, even because it's so expensive, you know, they have choosing between their health and having to go to the hospital, and they rather not. They're gonna have like a $10,000 hospital bill and all that. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, people living paycheck to paycheck, and these are all things that are directly also impacting me. You know, these aren't things that are impacting our current, congressman that's been there for over decades and, has made his millions and is living his life and all that. So he's not fighting for the average day people. Everything that I would go in there and fight for wouldn't just be for my community, but would be for me, because this is my, this is going to affect me. You know what I'm saying? And so it brings a whole level of perspective. It brings a whole level of representation that we haven't had in this district for a long time. And people are ready for change. People are ready. And when I ask people all the time, when I've gone across the district and I've spoken to our youth and I've spoken to adults, I've spoken to people, and like they always, like, I always ask them, like, you guys happy with the current people we had in office? They're like, last 22 years, have your life gone better? They're like, no, but who else we gonna vote for? There's nobody. And nobody's gonna step up and run because they don't want to challenge the establishment or the system, because they don't want to be, ostracized and all that. And so because of that, and because of the setup where no one could challenge, like, nothing gets changed. And real people's lives are struggling. Real people are going through things, and this is directly impacting them, and there's no voice for it. There's no real representation. And so, like, I made a bold decision, and obviously also with all of that, like when it comes to our housing, healthcare, when it comes to education, when it comes to even our public safety and funding social programs and all of that, and not just funding for more cops, but actually finding the root cause of crime, which has a lot to do with housing, has a lot to do with, mental health, has a lot to do with the opioid crisis, has a lot to do with, just a lot of social programs that we could be implementing. And because I understand that world, because I come from a background where I grew up around drug addicts, and I grew up around people that struggled. And so that's the thing, when people look at homelessness, they don't even realize how intersectional it is. There are literally people that serve their country that are veterans that are now homeless in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just like someone that got like crashed out and all that. There are people that lost their job and anyone and one paycheck away, and just like that, they're in the streets. You know what I'm saying? They got evicted. Like, there's so much intersectionality of it. And you have to be able to see things from a whole different lens to be able to actually impact change. And so I want to bring federal funding to the things in our district that matters, to the people that matter, that need it the most. I really want to create that change. And I think it's time. People are ready for new young leadership. Like, right now, look at our presidential race. We got 2 senior citizens, bro. Like, running for president. You really think out of all America, these are the 2 best candidates that could be running things? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really not. But that's the thing. We don't get to choose. They choose, and we just pick the best choice off of who they choose. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing even with this kind of race. That's why it's so, like, crazy that someone sees someone like me jump in this race, because it's not usual to see a real candidate come in and challenge someone like that, because you're not supposed to do that. It's like this, like, code, you know what I'm saying, that they had, that, like, you got to wait your turn, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, no, like, I care more about the people than about what your structure is here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see that it needs to be changed. It needs to be things done. That's what I'm going for. So I'm really here to fight. And also, obviously we know, like, not just from here, but just even with the foreign wars and everything that's happening, our money, that our tax dollars that we're supposed to be coming and helping our communities, are going to all these other places and funding all these other wars and funding all these other things that don't benefit us. And it's because these people have allegiances and ties to some of these, like, foreign entities and all of that, and they're bankrolling their campaigns, that's what they prioritize. It's like, these are our tax dollars. You know what I'm saying? We should be fighting for what's happening, changing things here. Right now, we just had a huge funding cut. Right now, they're literally getting rid of how many Seattle schools right now? Here, they're getting rid of so many Seattle schools. They're literally getting rid of the schools. Teachers are getting laid off, losing their jobs. Education is being programs are being cut, and all of that. We're losing all these cuts and all that, and now, but we have $1 billion to give to so and so country so they can go and do what with it. You know what I'm saying? So what's really happening? You know what I'm saying? Where's our money really going? And we need real oversight, and we need real representation that's going to be able to fight for the needs of our community. And I really think that I could be the person to do so. I really have the voice, and I have a lot of community support. Obviously there's going to be people that have whatever to say about it. Oh, Josh, you need to wait your turn, or you need to do this and that. I've heard it all. You know what I'm saying? I heard it the first time I ran for office. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be doubters. There's always going to be people that have a perspective and on what they think you should be doing with your life. You know what I'm saying? And I think if people put that same energy into their own lives, they'd probably be somewhere different.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone got to be a critic of someone else's life. You know what I'm saying? But if you actually, if you need to look inward, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like, how I see this, like, there's at the end of the day, I'm fighting for a bigger purpose. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
I'm fighting for what's right. I'm gonna do like, and that's the thing. I always say something like, people are like, oh, Josh, what happens if you don't win? What happens if you don't get it? And you know what? I really think that's the thing. Whatever. Like, I don't believe in failure, but if there is a failure, I believe in failing forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and you're making your attempt, and I think that's ultimately that's where it starts.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to attempt.
And that's a lot of people. Like I said earlier in the podcast, a lot of people will not even put themselves out there just because there's a chance of them not getting something.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that really get what they want in life and get where they're supposed to go in life are the people that are going to put themselves in the position, whether there's a chance they get it or not, but they're willing to put themselves in that position.
Yeah.
You know, positioning yourself is really important.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, I'm 24. I have my whole life ahead of me in politics and all that. You know, my goal is to win this now. We're running a good campaign thing. We're gonna, you know, just me being like, you know, it's gonna be like, it's a whole thing, like story. You know, the news covered it. Like, it's gonna be history. First of all, even if I just by me making out the primary, let's say I make out the primary, which is top 2, we have 8 candidates in the race. I'd be the youngest BIPOC in U.S. history to ever make out a primary election and go and challenge someone in general. Just that alone is breaking a whole nother barrier.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's national. Like,
you gotta lead. You gotta lead into it.
You gotta lead into it. That alone.
I love that.
Now, even if I don't, like, if I do that, that's alone is still opening a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Where now young people are like, oh yeah, we could really do this.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
that's hey man.
And so like,
no, that's real, man.
I'm willing to put myself in that position, and then if we do win, that's a whole nother level of barriers breaking as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I just think that, in terms of why I'm running and all that, because I think we're at a pivotal point in our nation, in our world. We need brave new leaders that are willing to put themselves out there and truly be representative of the community and truly fight for what's right and have a moral compass and be a person of the people and not of the system that's set up. Yeah. You know, and I always look at myself and I say this, man, and I think this is why I live the way I live, because at the end of the day, you know, I think life's very short. You know, I think life's short, and we're here one day and we could be gone the next. And I always say this, man, I think history remembers the brave. You know what I'm saying? History remembers the brave. You know, there's always going to be another multimillionaire. There's always going to be another big person. There's going to be this and that. When you look back in history, man, you look at who we remember, they weren't people that had the biggest bag. Yeah. They weren't people that had, you know, the nicest car, the nicest house. These are people, regular day people that did extraordinary things, that put themselves in position to do extraordinary things. You know, we talk about the Martin Luther Kings, talk about the Rosa Parks, talk about the Fred Hamptons. We talk about, you know, all these historical leaders, the Gandhis and all that. These weren't people that societal success, what they try to pin on us, was what they lived. Yeah. You know, they lived brave lives.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? And so if I live my life as someone that wants to live a brave life, because history's going to remember that. That's right. You know, it's going to remember one day. You know, not how everyone knows I'm the youngest BIPOC in history to ever do something. History's going to remember one day there was that 24-year-old kid that made the history that ran for Congress and broke that. That because, like, that's what, you know, I live my life like because I want to break barriers. I want to be brave because that's what history's going to remember. And that's the legacy I'm going to leave. You know what I mean? It's not going to be Josh Binda, the biggest bad dude. It's not going to be Josh Binda. It's like that kid, Josh Binda, really paved the path.
No, that's right.
You know, he did it in a way where we could look back and say, yeah, that's the reason why we could do it. Yeah. And that's how I live my life, man. And I think that's the biggest purpose I could have, because that's all I could lead. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's real. Hey.
That's real, bro.
Hey, man.
Yeah, for real,
nah,
man.
I love that,
that's
man.
Real.
I love that. And it's inspiring, bro. I'm going to let you know. It's inspiring. And, wow. So before we do close things off here, couple things. First thing, where can people find you and connect with you and follow you if they want to tap in with you?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest I say my biggest page is obviously Instagram. You know, they can follow me at just Josh Binda. I also have a pretty solid following on TikTok. If you want to follow me on there, I think it's Councilman_Binda. Okay. Follow me on Twitter. Also my website. You know, if you want to keep up, you want to see my platform, what I'm running on, who I am. Want to donate, because obviously these kind of races take money. If you want to donate, it's joshbinda.org. And so there's multiple ways people can reach out to me. My email's also on my website. People can reach out to me personally if they have any questions and all that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty open. My social medias, people could DM me. People could find a way to get in contact with me. I'm sorry, my bad. My DMs be flooded sometimes. I feel like I'm bad at responding.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize,
You're
bro.
a busy dude, bro.
Yeah, bro.
It's
all over, bro. They been having me. They been having me all over town.
Hey, but he responded though.
My bad, bro. But like, I'm here. I made it happen.
Yeah.
And
nah, thank you, man. And for those of you listening, make sure you go support. Make sure you tap in.
Yeah.
Get a deeper dive and learn more. Now, before we get you out of here, bro, we always ask every guest his final question.
Yeah, man.
So if you can, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up, and why?
One word to describe what keeps me on the up and up. I just say God. Like that. I mean, that's not a word, but that's like
that's a word.
Like that's
my word.
I say that's my purpose, man. And like I truly am someone that tries to live a God-fulfilled life in terms of my purpose and trying to who I am. In terms of what I try to be, like I said before, man, these aren't things. Being a politician, being like in this work that I'm doing, all that, putting out a book, going on tour, these aren't things I saw for my life. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't my path, my chosen path for myself.
Yeah.
But I think we all have a version of ourselves and a vision of what we see for our lives. But also God has a vision of what he sees for us. You know what I'm saying? The ones that are able to walk in what God sees for them reap the full benefit of who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think because I've been able to do that, I've been able to reap the full benefits, and it comes with a lot too. It comes with a lot of weight.
Yeah.
It comes with a lot on your shoulders. But I truly believe that's the biggest reason I am where I am and who I am, and that's why I try to just continue doing what I'm doing and make sure I keep my eyesight on not what I see for myself, but continue trusting what God has for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I say, man, that's the one word I gotta give because that's the whole reason I'm here. That's gonna be the continued reason why I make the decisions I make and do what I do. And at the end of the day, I'm a vessel towards that. That's why I don't listen to man. I don't trust, none of that. I listen to what God has to say, and that's how I walk. Regardless if I have 100 people with me, one person with me, nobody with me, God's always with me.
He's always with you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Always.
And so that's the only way I'm gonna go. You know what I mean?
I love that, man.
Yeah,
I love that.
dope,
That's
man.
amazing.
Man.
It's amazing.
Man.
God is
Appreciate
good.
y'all, man. You really
all the
is.
time.
All the time. God is good,
all
man.
the time, man. On that note, man, again, Josh, we just want to thank you, bro, for being here, spending some time with us, sharing your journey, sharing your stories. Powerful, man. And I think it's necessary, and people need to continue connecting deeper to people's stories. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you,
sir. Yes, sir.
And with that being said, I think it's safe to say, man, Josh Binda is officially a member of the Up and Up.
Baby. You already know what it is. Come on, baby.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
y'all, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate y'all having me, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. It was an honor. To continue supporting the podcast and the entire Up and Up movement, be sure to rate, review, like, and subscribe.
As well as follow us @_the Up and Up on all social media platforms to stay connected with everything the Up and Up has coming your way.
Thanks for listening, and until the next one,
Keep it on the Up and Up.